So, hi everyone, I'm Christopher Davies with Eventful Conversations, and welcome to our discussion. And thank you for joining us with our discussion with Live Events Coalition. As many of us know, 2020 has been a very challenging year for the events industry. To put things in perspective, live events is approximately a $1 trillion a year industry. But yet, we're probably projected to be losing about 80% of total revenue for the year, with about 9% of live event companies closing shop for good. Fortunately, though, we have some allies who are working very diligently to kind of strengthen our voice of the industry and help tell our story on Capitol Hill. Today, we have an amazing opportunity to talk with some of the leaders with the Live Events Coalition to hopefully shed some light as to where our industry is headed and what they're doing to help empower our industry as a whole. I'm joined today with Stuart Butler, co-owner of the Northwest Event Show. And our guests are going to be Nancy Schaefer, who is the board president with Live Events Coalition, and Dwayne Thomas, who is the chairperson for government affairs with the Live Events Coalition as well. Super excited because there's definitely a lot of alignment between what they're doing and their efforts and what we're trying to create as a community with Eventful Conversations. So let's get started with Nancy. If you wouldn't mind, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with LEC?
I joke. I like to say that I drew the short straw, which is not true. Um, this has truly been a bit of a gift. So when all of this started, the Live Events Coalition, much like every other state coalition and any other organization, came together out of a sense of need. And so when Isaac Rothwell, who was the founder, put a petition up and went to sleep thinking maybe 100 people would sign it and woke up that 10,000 people had signed it. And now we're at a 500,000. We realized, or it kind of all came together, that other states had also started coalitions. And I was a member of, and am still a member of, the founding board of the DC Events Coalition, which covers DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And at that point, when we realized that there were state coalitions and this national coalition being built, I was asked by DC to be the person that sat and kind of represented DC at national. And now that has flipped, and fast forward, a group of strangers have become a remarkable organization, and a board was put in place, and I sat on the board and was elected the first president of the Live Events Coalition board. And it is the hardest work I've ever done, the biggest honor I've ever had, and the most humbling job that I've ever experienced.
And Dwayne?
I could almost call a full ditto on Nancy there, especially the last bit. It's a sincere honor, and kind of you ruffle your eyebrow each day you get up and go, doing this, huh? They think I know what I'm doing, don't they? And it's really been true for all of us. I'd say on top of that, it's been such an education. We're event people, and are there's so much to say about the difference between being an advocate and being an event professional of any kind. The timeline is different. The way you measure your wins is different. How you get your wins is utterly different. And instead of being a professional and an expert at your craft, you're learning your craft as you go, and with a sense of desperation because you're fighting for the businesses of so many people and the livelihoods of so many workers. So there's a sort of urgency that drives you all the time. But beyond that, to the start of it, our start was very similar. We saw that petition that Isaac put out. It got shared so widely that I think probably within 2 days it made its way through the million degrees of separation to us out here on the West Coast. And we, of course, shared it as well. And at that time, we had already been putting together a state coalition, thinking of going after some state measures, things like commercial eviction moratorium and so forth. And we did, inspired by Isaac's petition, do our own. We formed in early April officially as a legal entity, and rolled up our sleeves and by the end of May, we were kind of locked at the hip with LEC. We're now proud to be a state chapter here in Oregon of the LEC, and I, being the noisier one in our group, suddenly started getting more emails and more calls, and how do you do this and how do you do that? And I would think, why do they think I know that? And, oh yeah, it's because I'm chatty, because I act like I know it. But lo and behold, found myself being asked to run this committee, and proud to do it. It has to be done, and to the extent that we're all able to contribute something different, and we all have different degrees of time we can contribute to this. I'm thrilled that I have a comfortable home that I can, with an office in it, and I can do what little is left of my business here, but also spend a lot of time on this coalition and try to fight for the industry. As I said, it's an honor.
Well, it's funny. Obviously, we appreciate you having a loud voice and wanting to talk and wanting to share, because that's what we need, right? Love the fact that, every time I listen to you guys speak, there's always a sense of, emotion that kind of comes through as well. The sense of we're really doing something for a greater good. You really kind of see the humility. And this is not an easy battle, which we'll kind of get into a little bit as well. I remember when Stuart brought this up to me, and maybe you can kind of elaborate on this, Stuart. Like, what got you involved and got started with LEC on your end?
Just watching the industry, watching what was happening to not just our business, but all the businesses in the closure, and all the people that are affected. We ended up laying off 100 people, and I think for us that was the hardest part, is just the human impact that it's putting out there. And we're just one business in this industry, and with the Northwest Event Show, we have 250, 300 partners, and it's just a small part of the industry. And I was just like, wow, there's got to be, what can we do? And we saw the petition come through, and I'm like, wow, we need to get involved in this, and we need to. You can't just let other people do the work. You have to. You've got to raise your voice too. And I know that we couldn't do it by ourselves. And it's similar to the election, right? Your vote counts, but how much stronger are we together? And so rather than just, letting other people do the work, I was like, well, I've got to get involved in this and figure out how to amplify that voice. And when we had one of our initial conversations, I reached out to LEC and invited them to our platform on Northwest Event Show to be part of that conversation. And I just knew I wanted to get engaged and say, our resources are your resources. How can we assist? Because it's way bigger than us. It's as we know it's 12 million people. I want to be involved.
Well, it's interesting. The events industry. I mean, all of America is going through some tough times, but I think we can look at the live events industry, and we're one of the greatest hit industries for sure. And we're such a very healthy, dependent community of individuals. But let me just ask you guys, what are the greatest challenges that are facing the events industry today? What are you guys seeing on your end? I mean, right now we have our very microscopic view, in our own positions, in our own customers, our own challenges. But on a bigger holistic scale, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are seeing as you guys are fighting this fight for us?
All right, I'll take that one. Because our industry is so unique from most other industries, I would say from any other industry, I compare us to the construction industry in that we are a team. This is not a job that any of us can do alone. So you need an architect, an engineer, a general contractor, and all of your subs. That's a live event. So our ecosystem is massive. Our needs are truly large. And I think that the biggest challenges as we move forward definitely are economic. Many of our people were completely shut out of any relief whatsoever. That has been problematic. But I think that if we were to look at what our greatest concerns are, first and foremost, it's our workforce. Many people are not going to be able to stay in this workforce. These are exceptionally talented, highly skilled people, people that have been in the business for 20 and 30 years who no longer can afford to stay. So they've pivoted, not by choice, to somewhere else. So when we do come back, and we will come back, and we will be stronger than we ever were, we may struggle with the right workforce. So that's number one. So that we have to make sure that we're filling that pipeline and make sure that we're bringing in the next generation. That's one. We also have the issue of consumer confidence. So unlike some of what I refer to as our sister industries, whether they are hotels or restaurants or even travel, you make that decision on a much smaller basis. If I decide I want to go out to dinner, I'm going to find 2, 4, 6 other people, and I'm going to go out to dinner, and there's 6 of us. I've made that choice with a group of 6. If I am producing a meeting or trade show that has 10,000 people, or a concert that has 50,000 people, or a wedding or gala that has 300 to 1,500, that's a lot of people that need to say, I feel really comfortable and safe going and sitting in that room with those people that I don't know. Those strangers, most of them I've never met. So while the vaccine is huge and we could not be more appreciative that that has happened, we still are going to have to build back consumer confidence as well as come up with a new set of standards of what and how an event is safe. We used to worry about whether or not you were going to trip. So you had to have the yellow jacket over the cables. Now I need to make sure that everybody is healthy that comes through the door, that not only our guests, but our teams, that as a team we are working even more purposefully together because everything impacts everybody else. So I think that the challenges that we look at is we're not going back to the way it was. We will never go back to the way it was. Yeah. So what is new? What is the future for us? And how do we make sure that we utilize our brilliance, because I believe that this is an industry of brilliant human beings, and creativity to make sure that we have built that consumer confidence, that we have implemented all of the policies and procedures that need to be in place, that we have trained our teams, and that we are prepared and looking around and ahead, and that we're not invisible anymore. That one I think is really, really important. We will be invisible because that's our job.
Yeah.
But only during the job. Before and after that, it's really important that the world and that our clients and that our guests know how massive the ecosystem is and how many people it takes truly to produce that one experience. So there are going to be logistical issues that we're going to have to address, but there are also going to have to be some educational awareness and emotional issues that we're going to have to address. And I don't think that other industries have been impacted in the same way. The good news is this is an industry of remarkable human beings with amazing tenacity. And so I do believe that we will be better. We still have a long way to go, but I think that together we will be able to make some remarkable inroads.
One of the first things that I got from our first conversation with each other was this idea of how invisible our industry is. I think that becomes a very big challenge that's not even on our radar a lot of times, where our whole entire business is designed to be behind the scenes. We're an industry that empowers our customers to shine. And it's hard because now we need to have a voice. And I think this is where I'm super jazzed about LEC, to be able to have a voice for us, because we're not used to being vocal. We're not used to getting the limelight and speaking out for ourselves. Just kind of an interesting take from that first conversation to really understand the depths of the challenges that we face as an industry. And it starts to make more sense too. Like why do we not have a voice? Why aren't we as a collective as we need to be? And so, but Dwayne, what is your take on this?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. The first or second day after the quarantine started back in March, I was just getting ready to go about my day and kind of wandering around the house with a cup of coffee aimlessly. And I thought to myself, here's the problem. We're going to be shut down remember, this is March, so our perspective is very different. We're going to be shut down until June, and then they're going to open restaurants back up. And our leaders are going to think, problem solved. We're good, aren't we? And we're going to be over here going, no, we're not good. We're not coming back for a while. And at the time, I thought we wouldn't be coming back for a while because, not because there wasn't a vaccine yet or because the thing was still running rampant over us. I thought it would be because of the business cycle, because it takes so long to get the event business coming back and running. And also, like Nancy said, I was a little worried about consumer confidence even then. So I thought, I wonder if this sensation is unique. So I started talking to my colleagues. Long story short, we got a coalition now because it wasn't unique. And then I met people across the country and in other states and helped other states build their coalitions. And their thought process was exactly the same, probably on the exact same day, as we all woke up and realized, holy cow, we're invisible. No one knows we're here. And that started bearing itself out from the very first conversation with an elected official when they had no idea. And they said, well, how many of you are there in Oregon? We were doing Oregon work. And I said, I don't know. So we spent 2 weeks Googling so we could find out. And we went to every possible Google search you could think of and found what we think is every business in the state. It was just crazy, fingers typing, Googling, moving those people into a spreadsheet. We're all of us who didn't know Google Docs before, we know it now. And that's how it happened. And now you've got information, you realize what is it they're going to want to find out from you. So going back to your question about what the industry challenges are, Nancy's dead right. In fact, it's not only consumer confidence. They're already starting to ask us. I just had a conversation with a client yesterday who's getting married in July, and she said, "It's going to be okay, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yes," because what can I say at that point? They're going to look to us for that expertise. Is it okay to gather? There's a fundamental distrust with the government telling them what to do. I think we can all see that thread through society right now. That narrative is not very hard to miss. We're going to be thrust into this weird position of having to be the emissaries, both of our state health departments and to whatever extent our federal health departments jump in and govern this. Between them and common sense and business realities, somewhere is the story we have to tell to our clients and our potential clients and their clients to make them feel comfortable. And I think it's just now dawning on us that this responsibility is going to kind of be thrust back at us. If you've tried to have a conversation with your state leadership, as we have, and seen the extent to which, A, they don't know who you are or what you do, B, they're not that interested in talking to you about it because they've got bigger problems, then you realize, okay, telling the story is going to be up to us. So communication and education is going to be a huge part of that consumer confidence piece. It won't build itself.
Christopher, to add to that, something that neither Dwayne or I really addressed is the timeline. So restaurants, if they say, yes, you can eat inside or you can eat outside, you clean the kitchen, you order the food, and you can be up and running probably in a matter of days. I joke, I've been in this industry for a really long time. You used to get 18 months to plan an event. Then it became 12 months. Now it's about 6 months, and that's a nice long lead time. So if we use 6 months for certain types of events, but 2 and 3 years for others, you're talking about having come to a dead stop, coming out of this on the other end, to what we hope will be a healthy and safe society and world. It's not just us, remember. We have a lead time. We have a buildup. We have the planning. This does not happen overnight. This is complicated. It's detailed. It requires a lot of moving parts and a lot of partners on that team that all have to come together for it to go smoothly. And, that's going to take time, not to mention we're also up against those events that have canceled and or postponed. So your inventory of certain things is going to be challenging, whether it is that I'm looking for a hotshot lighting designer who happens to be Dwayne, but Dwayne has 2 events on that particular day that I want to have that event. I can't have Dwayne, right?
Yeah.
So it is, who we are is so complicated, and our invisibility, sadly, has made it look like what we do is easy. And so, I joke, I'm the person in the front. In my normal job, which I don't know if it'll ever be a normal job again, as an event planner, I'm out front, but I'm still invisible. I might be wearing at a gala a beautiful red ball gown, but I still have clear comm on my head, a clipboard in my hand, a walkie-talkie, my phone, and if I see a camera coming, I do this because it's not me that anybody wants to see. So we remain invisible, and we will go back to being invisible. Where we can't be invisible is in the understanding of who this industry is, why who LEC is so critical, not just for today, but for the long term.